Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes each. So, 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, 1 guest, little singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am back.
You're back.
Yeah.
And you're having your Manhattan.
I'm having my Manhattan.
I'm having my Diet Coke.
Yeah, I'm having my Manhattan. I feel like I'm back. I'm back from Germany. I'm back from COVID. I feel like I'm finally kind of like back in the saddle a little bit, which is nice.
Nice. That's great. I saw a comment asking what our drinking word is, because I guess it's our 3rd season. We're just breaking these seasons up. There's no rhyme or reason to it, everybody. We just want to get some new animation in there, want to, upgrade our stuff a little bit, and after a necessary week off. So this is season 3. This is
season
our
3.
Opener. We'll be populating. We said we were going to populate our club. That's starting to happen. And we'll be adding more animation into the opening. So it'll be fun. We'll see what our guests, our new guests on the wall, and meet hopefully some new faces and some of our favorites. So I'm excited about all that.
That's the thing to do. This is going to be a seat of the pants kind of show to some degree, because we got the animation. It's not here yet. It's coming. Chunk is working on it as we speak.
Yeah.
He's like down in the boiler room, cranking out the whatever it is that we need.
Yeah.
Our guest is supposed to beam in and only has a short window of time. So usually we have the guest already queued up in the green room, and we don't. So, that's where we're at today, but that's okay.
It might just be you and I.
It might just be.
It might just be you and I.
And we're going to do an after hours today.
We're going to do an after hours for a little bit. So you guys will notice True Player there in the comments, and she's putting up the link for our after hours. So I think what happens is this stops, and then you go to the new link. What happens?
That is what happens.
Okay.
You have to be a member to get in. Members only, man.
Members only.
It's like if you go to the airport and you go to the premier lounge, they're not going to let you in unless you're a member.
Unless you're a member.
That's what happens.
I saw someone like, great, I just joined and you guys are taking the end of the season, right? So yes, we're coming back top of the season and of the next, whatever this is, 3, and doing an after hours with you all tonight. So
season 3 is when shows start to get good usually.
Oh, look, here's True Player's educating us. Oh, wait a minute. Where did it go? She had something on there.
You can also set
notifications and click, boom, you're in. Okay. I didn't know that.
All right. So there you go. This is what you need to do. You need to set notifications and click, and then boom, you're in. Not left of boom, just boom.
Just boom. You're in. Full boom. Yeah.
Just boom.
All right. And then I had somewhere I was going with that first, with a comment from someone else asking, and it wasn't the members only, but it was this. What doesn't matter. I think we want to dive into our topics and get going. And then if there's anything that you guys, another stuff that you guys want to talk about, that's in the after hours.
Yeah, that's in the after hours.
Yeah, that's in the after hours. All right. Let me put our clock on. We do it. 5 segments, 8 minutes each. Let's begin.
Number 1, sorry, Charlie. Charlie refers to Charles McGonigal, the former head of, or section head of the counterintelligence for the FBI in the New York Bureau. Came to the New York Bureau in, that month of October 2016 when nothing happened in the New York FBI Bureau. Just nothing happened at all
nothing of any kind of import to our national security.
Yeah,
right?
Just
and the future survival of our democracy. Nothing at all. So listen, this news hit, a lot of this news hit the week before, like sort of the last week before we took a break.
Yeah.
And we already had our guest planned. As you guys all saw, it was Pete Strzok. And Pete was like, I can't talk about it. Charlie, we're like, we get it. So I don't think we made that really clear at the beginning, because you guys were like, McGonigal, talking about McGonigal.
Yeah.
And I think we said it, but we didn't make it super clear. So just so you know, obviously people who might had something to do with and knowledge of what this guy was doing up in there, or having it affect their own investigations. Those folks they cannot talk. You haven't seen any of them talk, and they're not going to. So that's what that was. But we want to talk about it. So look, you guys got the basics already. There's not much we know beyond the basics. There's a lot of guesswork going on out there. I'm aware of the connection to Kallstrom that is kind of floating up here. The New York field office is the biggest FBI field office that there is. And when it comes to counterintelligence, the most important. I think DC would rival it a bit, but it's just a bigger population and a lot more because of the money that comes through New York, and the gangsters all over New York. You end up having, for everybody who's familiar with the world beneath and all this, you end up having quite a lot of foreign activity coming in through New York and fucking around. So it's a very important field office when it comes to counterintelligence. A lot of the big cases that the FBI has solved, that are counterintelligence cases that we find out about as the public, because we don't hear about a lot of this stuff, but we certainly find out about things like Anna Chapman and these other cases. Those were that New York field office. So it's a really important office. Now, there's obviously going to be a targeted office. This is a thing that I beg people to remember. The bad guys are really good at being bad guys. We're not up against schlubs. We're not, especially when it comes to former Soviet era, now Russian Federation thugs. And Oleg Deripaska is the kingpin of the thugs. Come and sue me, Cupcake. Everybody remember I started calling this guy my Cupcake because in every deep dive I did into Donald Trump's Russian mafia ties or even Kremlin connections, and the banking and everything and all of it flowing through New York, all of it at some point ended up with I'm in the cul-de-sac that was Oleg Deripaska. So he was my cupcake at the end of my dig. It's like, bing, I won my piece of cake. So, and a lot of the research threads that I put out early on, and that Greg, you were involved, with Dirty Rubles, it's just all going through this guy because he's Putin's guy. He just is. Yeah. Putin's money. That's Putin's wallet walking around. That's what that is. And I'm sorry, he does have massive connections to Mogilevich and was part of the Mogilevich empire, right? Business empire from back in the 80s and the 90s and the mid 2000s even. So he's a real motherfucker. Right? Remember, he was in there with Manafort. Remember, he was in there with Yanukovych. Remember, he's all over everything. We refused to give this man a visa. He wanted a visa really bad. He muscled his way into the search mission for Bob Levinson, when Bob Levinson, former FBI street agent of New York, who then was a personal consultant, and the man that was known as a Mogilevich hunter, disappeared in Kish, Iran. Right? While he was on a private case, but also still working with CIA in the Financial Crimes Division and feeding them information. That's a book I posted recently, Missing Man. Who shows up in that story? But Oleg Deripaska, trying to say, I know what happened to Bob Levinson, the Mogilevich hunter, who has disappeared right in the hot zone where Mogilevich was trafficking a bunch of shit. This guy goes missing. Our guy goes missing, gets captured. Oleg surfaced and said, I've got intel on that, if you'll give me a visa. So he was trying to get a visa for a long time, offering up information that all ended up being really dark and really fucked up and not going anywhere. Somewhere in the process of all of that, he gets Charlie McGonigal as we're hurtling towards 2016 in this election with a fully owned Russian asset at the top of the Republican ticket. The head of FBI counterintelligence in New York gets hooked by Oleg Deripaska. Okay? That's the Charlie McGonigal story. Are there all kinds of other characters involved in this? Probably. Does it look like Kallstrom was in there a little bit? That's another former FBI guy and very closely connected to Rudy. And if all of you remember all the work that I was posting and putting out there around the book called The Five Families and the commission trial and everything we know out of the concrete cartel, who's in that? Who was in charge of putting the spy equipment for the FBI into the homes of gangsters to get them for Rudy Giuliani and nab them for the commission trial? Kallstrom. So we have these big characters. We have these names that we've seen over and over again. We end up with an oligarch that is at the center of a lot of fuckery and a lot of Kremlin connections to Donald Trump and everyone involved in his campaign. And then we have a compromised head of counterintelligence at the FBI who was responsible, it looks like, feeding a tremendous amount of information into the New York Times so that you got headlines and stories that damaged Hillary Clinton and opened up investigations into her, triggering all that shit while at the same time covering up for Donald Trump and all of the crimes that he had been involved with for decades and decades with these Russians. Did I summarize it okay?
I think you summarized it okay. And I'll just add, like anything, Deripaska and Manafort are very, very closely connected. Yeah. And again, if you go back and read Volume 5, if you go back and read Volume 5 of the Senate Intelligence Committee's bipartisan report on Russian election fuckery, Manafort is all up in there, Deripaska is all up in there, and Kilimnik is all up in there, the Russian, intelligence guy that specializes in fucking with elections. So Manafort owed Deripaska millions of dollars, went to work for the Trump campaign for free, and then sort of immediately began trying to leverage that to get out of his debt to Deripaska, which is like, that's bad. Manafort was in charge of the campaign.
That's right.
From, I believe, May to August or September of 2016. He was the guy in charge of the campaign. Right. He also picked Mike Pence to be vice president. So you have this through line with that. Okay. We haven't even mentioned Deripaska's stuff in Kentucky, where his company, the aluminum company, wound up getting off the sanctions list. That's McConnell and the other senator from Kentucky, Mr. Rand Paul. The same Rand Paul that went to Russia to deliver a fucking letter to Putin from Trump.
To grab it, to do the actual back channel communications between Putin and Donald Trump. Yeah.
So all this stuff is there. Now I'm gonna caution everybody. The natural tendency with this guy is to be like, oh, well, there it is. That's everything. He, in Dirty Rubles, I wrote, and I don't think this isn't my idea. The main reason Trump won the election and Hillary lost is Russian aid, the fucking New York Times story on Halloween that said that there was no ties to Russia. The FBI found no ties to Russia, and the Comey memo.
That's
so
right.
This guy potentially links all three of those things, but we have to be careful not to just go there and assume that he does, because he may not. He may not.
Let's just see. There's now a massive investigation, and we're going to get a lot of information. And it's either can confirm everything that we do before, or it's going to or fill in some holes maybe that we didn't have, or we're going to learn new stuff that kind of reshapes everything we thought we knew. And that's the nature of counterintelligence investigations. It's whatever you thought you knew, 2 seconds later, new information can come in, and oh my God, it's all new again. All right, that's our time. I paused this because we were running out. I did want to remind everybody of this. In the Bob Mueller indictments of both Manafort and Gates, back when they were facing prison time, and Manafort did go away and they were convicted, Gates got his deal. There was quite a lot of email communication back and forth. This is from when Manafort was working directly for Oleg Deripaska on the Ukrainian presidency and setting up all the mishigosh around that ended up having Crimea disappear. And it was horrible what happened. What Manafort did in Ukraine was just absolutely abhorrent. His own daughter called it a river of blood, right? Because there actually was bloodshed involved in the politics there that he was messing around in. At that time, which was connected to the money laundering charges that Paul Manafort was facing, all these emails were going back and forth between Rick Gates and someone at the New York Times to make sure they were planting stories there to help them out. So Manafort had always had a deep connection at the Times, and they were, running his pieces. That is in the indictment. There's no question about it. You can look, of course, in the opinion pages of the Times, but still, they were able to get a lot of very Putin favorable and Yanukovych favorable coverage going at this very same newspaper that then a couple years later, Charlie McGonigal appears to have been, we'll see, feeding stories that were messing around in our election with the FBI, with coming directly out of counterintelligence. So
yeah,
there we go. Just a reminder. Okay, that was a long segment because we missed it to begin with.
We're going to do a short segment now. This isn't a long one. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, postcards from Europe. As you know, I was in Berlin. I love Berlin. It's really such a great city. It really is. It's wonderful. Just so artsy, and there's such a vibrancy to the place. And yeah, if the fascists come here, man, that's where I'm going to be. I think I made this joke before, but I'll make it again. Like when you're playing hide and go seek, the best place to hide is where the person who's counting starts off. So if you're hiding from Nazis, Berlin is the place to hide. It's the best place. Yeah. Anyway, it's wonderful. But when I was there was a big convention for my job. And I talked to a lot of people that I hadn't seen in 3 years from different countries. And I wanted to give just a little report anecdotally about stuff that's happening in Europe, because I think it's interesting. This is one of the things I get to do. So my friend who's German told me he was irritated by this, but that I guess the German foreign minister misspoke and said that we are at war with Russia, meaning Germany, to lobby for the whole thing. So, whether that was a Freudian slip or not, I think it's actually kind of good that that's what the German foreign minister's thinking.
Okay.
It means that they're on the right side. So
Finally,
he didn't like that, because he was afraid that there's going to be violence and stuff, but I thought it was cool. The other thing about Germany, remember they had that coup there not long ago, or the coup attempt. Yeah. And there was that guy, Heinrich the 13th. And he was laughing about this, my friend, because he's like, that guy, not only is he a noble, it's like he's not even in that family very important. I think they went around and just tried to recruit royal families for this. And they finally just gave up and found this guy sleeping on a couch somewhere. And we're like, hey, Heinrich, you could be the new chancellor, whatever it is, the Kaiser. And he's like, okay, cool.
One step above the fake Rothschild that was wandering around Mar-a-Lago.
I think the fake Rothschild was actually senior to this guy, Heinrich the 13th. Unlucky Heinrich the 13th. The other piece is somebody from Poland I talked to, because a couple of years back there was a lot of mass protests in Poland, for elections and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember. And she was saying, we have to go out. Oh, we have to work now, but for the next hour we have to go outside and do this protest. And so I talked to somebody and said, what's going on with that? Because it's kind of cool that you guys were protesting. And she said, well, it's not looking great. By the way, I preempted this by saying, hey, in America, the fascists are taking over. So what's going on in Poland? Help. She said they're not cool with the guy that's there now. They're worried about the elections. And the most disturbing thing that she said is that, we stopped doing the protests because they just don't work. People go protest and then nothing happens. And that was really kind of disheartening to hear. But, not that Americans ever need more reason not to go protest, because we're not exactly great at that anyway. But in Poland, it didn't have a thing. And, and the last piece, and I wrote about this on my Substack, is that I went to visit the Holocaust Memorial, which, it's right in the center of Mitte in Berlin, right near the Brandenburg Gates. And it's an old city block, and you're walking, and then suddenly you stumble upon it. The first time I was there, I didn't know it was there. I just was like, what's this? And it's very it's built into the thing. It's not something you go see as a museum. So the effect is that it's part of the landscape. It's inescapable. And it's wonderful that way, because it forces you to be like, no, this wasn't something that you can fucking compartmentalize and put aside like we do in this country with our, let's have February be Black History Month, and the rest of the time we can ignore everything that we did that was horrible. It's right in the middle, and they're, in Germany, they really are taking strides to confront the horrors of what they did, which doesn't make up for what they did, obviously, but it's acknowledgement is the first step to atonement. as I wrote in the piece. And if you're ever in Berlin, please go see this thing. It's wonderful. It's very powerful physically to be in it, and see this thing, because it's all these stone things. They look like, like tombs or and you wind through them and they start off at ankle length. And then the next thing you know, they're towering over your head. And you're like, how did that happen? Which again, mirrors the whole Nazi thing. Suddenly, oh my God, we're in a place that we can't deal. So again, there's too many Nazis in the United States right now. There's Nazis in Ohio. That story came and went about the homeschooling Nazi thing in Ohio. I read it. I'm like, is this real? I thought maybe it was from a long time. No, there's Nazis all over the place. There's Nazis back on Twitter. There's Nazis in Twitter spaces talking Nazi Holocaust denial shit all the time. Yeah. And we need to fucking call this shit out. So that's it. And Germany has called it out. They started it, yes, but now, 75, 80 years later, they're calling it out, and we need to do better in this country with it, because there are no good Nazis. If you're a Nazi, you are bad. I don't know. How many films have there been about bad Nazis? They're bad. They're fucking bad. That's it. I don't know what else.
That's it. No space for it anymore.
All right. I have good news. I have good news on two fronts, which that
I saw you checking out there in the first segment. I figured you were grabbing the video.
Grabbing the video, and our guest is here, so I'm very excited.
Yay!
So
all right,
he's going to wait for literally 1 minute and 34 seconds while we play what I hope is this great thing that nobody has seen.
No one's seen it.
No one's seen it. This is the world debut. So
risky.
All right, here we go.
So yeah, I'm in this little parking lot in Bozeman where I might get shot. I look up at the big Montana sky. A Chinese fuck balloon float by. Achtung, what the fuck is this? Keine Ahnung. One is Trump and one is China. Fucking in the winter sky? The end of the world? Or am I high?
Trump wanted to nuke a hurricane. You guys don't even throw a dart at a balloon? Joe Biden has taken no action to disable that balloon. Why?
Would President Trump have shot this down? He said, yep.
Naughty, naughty spy balloons flying over America. What the fuck are you about? Fucking round uns finding out. Bunker China, trademark split. Butternut is Brandon, she's your shit. Xi Jinping got sucker. And be sure to post it on TikTok.
I said the word. You heard me. Baby balloon and molding. How do we know it's not pushing spores?
Okay.
How do we know it's not pushing spores? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, our guest is not
have a group meeting.
Our guest is not left in horror, which is
Our
always a good sign. Chunk, that's awesome. We love it. We love you, man. Okay, we wanted to talk about the State of the Union.
Yes,
okay,
we did.
For the third topic, we had a great State of the Union address, and who better than somebody who is A, at the State of the Union, and B, helps so much with democratic messaging that when he was on last time, I didn't realize this until I was going back and looking because I forgot. That whole Hakeem Jeffries speech, the alphabet speech, where he's this versus that, was really being workshopped on this very show. It was. If you go back,
we can ask.
If you go back and look at the clip, it's there. There it is. There it is.
And it's in there that we recognize.
And the genius director and screenwriter and democratic messaging guru, the great Billy Ray, is back. How are you, Billy?
Hello, gang. Good to see you.
It's great to see you, Billy. Oh, and we want to, we did have our first segment, which you missed a little bit of, where we talked about McGonagall. So I know you've got to run tonight. We don't have a lot of time with you, but I think we got to get at least one statement out of you because you made that great film.
Thank you.
So we want to talk to you about that a little bit.
Sure.
Let's start with first of all, how are you doing? And what do you think about, you were on right before the midterms, right? It was right before the midterms. So here we made it through our midterms, and give us your sense of where you think we're at. And then also let's talk about that speech.
Sure. Which would you like to do first?
Let's talk about first of all, your sense of how the midterms went. Anything you want to say about it since we left?
Completely thrilled with the midterms and very, very bullish on 2024.
Great.
Well, I think what you're looking at in the House for the next 2 years will be, an impeachment of Biden, investigations into Hunter and Pelosi and Fauci and the balloon.
Oh, yes.
And at some point, Americans will say, like, what's this got to do with the price of rice? And then we'll throw the bums out. That's what I think is coming in the House.
Yeah.
I know there's some tough sledding in the Senate, but here's the thing that is so extraordinary. It's some numbers that should get the attention of Democrats, and to me, it ties in very much to the State of the Union address. 62% of Americans believe that if they make enough noise, they can get a corporation to pay attention to them as a consumer.
Oh.
Okay. 4% of Americans believe that if they make enough noise, they can get their government to pay attention to them as a constituent. That's staggering. And as a Democrat, which is, of course, the party of government, that should get your attention. That's a really big deal. 65% of Americans believe that they don't matter. Separate polling data. So to me, what that says is that the politician who contradicts that, who says, no, you do matter. You are very much my mission. You're the reason that I'm doing this. That politician is going to win. And what Joe Biden did, and I was there, is every line of that speech said, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to my party. You're our collective mission. He just kept saying it over and over and over again. And he kept making the American worker the hero of the story, which is why, not surprisingly, 72% of Americans loved the speech. It was about them. It was all about them. Trump said a lot of ridiculous things when he was running for president in 2016. But when they did a study of which campaign lines of his were the most effective, the one that was by far the most effective, the one that spiked off the charts, was "I will be your voice," because that essentially says you matter. That's the prevailing narrative. That's what Biden captured so effectively, and that's why I think that speech will go down as what is so far, at least for me, the most effective speech of his presidency. What I can tell you about the experience of being there,
I love that. Great.
Well, what I can tell you about the experience of being there, I was in the House gallery. I was a guest of Ted Lieu, which was incredibly generous of him.
Yeah.
And I was sort of looking down. I don't mean this metaphorically. I mean this literally. But I was looking down on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, she was almost spitting distance from me, which again was not a metaphor. It was so shocking, the lack of decorum. It was like watching a gorilla throw feces, but not as appealing. It was shocking, and the things that she chose not to applaud for, completely shocking. Because I was watching, and there'd be moments where, like, even Josh Hawley would stand up and say, "Well, fuck yeah, I'll clap for that." And there, like moments when JD Vance, like one of the great douchebags of the 21st century, even he was applauding for stuff. And Mitt Romney was up constantly, which I genuinely appreciated. But you could not get Marjorie Taylor Greene up off her ass.
Let me ask you something on that.
Yeah.
So Kevin McCarthy has seared her to him, right?
Yep.
So she's his woman.
Yeah.
And
well, we'll see what that means. And by the way, I have
But
no
was he
statistics.
shushing her? Because everybody, you were there. The news coverage was like, I didn't quite see that. He was sort of looking at her and shushing her. But was he?
I didn't see that. I was so busy looking at all of the intense sexual heat between Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz. There was
Wait.
there were so many sparks between those two. I thought the sprinklers were going to go off. It was nuts. Yeah, and I can't prove it. It's not like I can give you some facts to demonstrate, but I'm telling you, there's some heat there between those.
It's not like you're a director or anything. You know where to put the camera and you know where the energy is.
Well, I do consider myself to be somewhat a student of human behavior. And
oh my God.
And something, it looked like something was going on there. And then, I also had like a direct line to George Santos, which was its own comic book. It was just a fucking freak show because I was looking down on the Republican half of the House, or I guess slightly more than half of the House. There were plenty of little stories. The other thing that people don't know about the State of the Union address is that when it's over, if you're in the gallery, the doors are shut and they stay shut for security reasons. They will not let you leave until Biden is off the floor.
Right.
And Biden, particularly after a speech like that, like he wanted to hang, and he shook hands with everybody on that floor. He stopped and talked to the justices and the cabinet members and so many Democrats in the House and Senate. And you just sort of have to stand there. And you surrender your phone on the way in. So it's not like you can go on Twitter and bitch about it.
That feels real smart for Joe Biden. In my mind, I'm thinking he's like, I'm staying, I'm shaking everybody's hand.
Should have.
Everybody, I am running this clock out so that they're not running out with their phones and tweeting shit, right?
Yes, he
I
did.
think they do that. I remember watching Clinton work the room after one of the State of the Unions and just marveling at how amazing he was at it. So
but the fun for me was the next day. I had a bunch of meetings. I was meeting with the DPCC, which is essentially the messaging arm of the House Democratic Caucus, and that was a great treat. But then I went into the Rayburn building where the Oversight Committee was doing its let's interrogate Twitter thing, and I was sitting not in the hearing room, but the room next door, which was the Democratic staff room of the Oversight Committee. So every time they took a pee break and Jamie Raskin came in and the other members, AOC, et cetera, they would come into this little room where they would sort of strategize. And I was sitting in that room. I mean, there were like, Jamie and a bunch of members of Congress and the staff and, 7 boxes of Dunkin' Donuts and me. And, occasionally Jamie would say, well, are we missing anything? And I'd say, well, try this. And I'm not saying that I scripted anything for anybody. I'm just saying I was trying to push them.
I love you, Billy Ray.
I was trying to push them in a very specific direction to talk about how they're here for the voters and this is political theater. And they need to keep coming back to this idea of who's our mission. Our mission is the voter because the voter matters. It's that idea of, hey, 4% of you think you can make an impact on your government. No, you're making an impact on us right now. And we're going to honor that and driving home that message again and again and again. Because the party that does that is the party that's going to win.
Okay. So I want to connect that to the State of the Union a little bit and what you started saying about Trump.
Sure.
So, one of the reasons Trump could say that and it connected for people is that he did have a secret weapon that he wasn't outward about, but we all found about later, very clear that they had crafted a propaganda machine with Facebook, right? So they were intaking what from that channel, that sort of pipeline. Trump campaign was intaking what people cared about, what they were saying, what they were doing, and their phrasing and their stuff that they were, even the crazy conspiracy stuff that they were into. And then he was taking that and saying it back to them in the crowd as if it was his own thing. And they're like, oh my God, he's just like us. And that created that mind meld between the Trump voter and it radicalized a lot of people and Trump himself. They fused in that campaign, and from there on out.
Yes, but I would say
taking the data on them and spitting it back out. So,
but significantly, it's not what he's doing now, which is why he's
right. So that's where I was going with it. Now, I don't, that's sort of it's not quite the same channel. They still have this propaganda machine that they've built that's everybody's plugged into, but there's been a lot of disruption and dissension and disintegration among the people who are running that, from their think tank people like Project Veritas. It's not like all this stuff is kind of chaotic now. And I'm just wondering, to bring it back around to what you saw in the State of the Union, I don't know that the circus performers that showed up under Trump and gained momentum and political power and position, this Congress critters, and even some of the senators, right, that rode that Trump insanity to get in, and the radicalization wave to get in, the Greens, the Boberts, the Getzes, if they don't have a circus master, what's he called? Why am I blanking on that name? The three ring. Who's the guy?
It's not the master of ceremonies. It's the ringleader.
The ringleader.
Right?
If they don't have that, guy, something else. If they don't have that guy, which doesn't exist outside of that, then what do they look like? I feel like that's what was happening in that State of the Union, and what it's like the ringleader is gone, and so now the gorillas and the lions and all of this, and the clowns and all the performers just look like this sort of chaotic tent that no one wants to be in. It's not a showman.
I'm not objective, but that is certainly my perception of what I was seeing there. But I think there's a big part of it that Democrats miss, which is really, really crucial to this. We look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, and we say, oh my God, they're leading their party off a cliff. Don't they realize how problematic that is? Don't they realize that they're not communicating to the voter, you matter? Why aren't they doing this? I mean, it's so simple. It's so seminal. Why aren't they doing this? And I'll tell you exactly why. It's because they fundraise like fuck off of the circus. And they don't really give a shit if their party is led off a cliff or not. Marjorie Taylor Greene can literally be in Congress for the rest of her life if she never breaks a law, which is a 50-50 proposition. But either way, because there are enough crazies in the country that will keep funding her, she's set. Like, she's good. She's vested. You have to understand, and I have zero proof of this. Zero. Okay. So I'm speculating here. Gotcha. But I've always believed that America is 30% crazy. And that it has always been that way. You go back and look at what Americans were saying before the Civil War, what Americans were saying before the Second World War, the America First movement, what Americans were saying during the Civil Rights movement. 30% of this country has always been batshit. The day that Richard Nixon left office, his approval was at 29. Trump's favorability right now is at 31. It's that same group of people that cannot be moved. Now, that means 70% of the electorate is up for grabs, and we're going to live there, and we're going to make our bones there in the big middle where the votes have always lain. But that 30% can keep Marjorie and Matt in office forever because they can fundraise like crazy by doing the baboon shit that they were doing. I don't think Lauren Boebert actually can. I think Adam Frisch is going to kick her ass in 2 years. I really believe that. He's a great candidate, and he lost by, I don't know, like 300 votes or some crazy fraction in 2022. And I think in 2024, he's going to unseat her. But the rest of them can sink their party and stay employed, which is ultimately the goal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Money wins in America. Yeah.
We did promise, I know you have a tight window, and I promised to that you would be gone. We would release you by 5:45 your time.
I'm having so much fun. If you release me by 5:50, we'll be fine.
Yes!
Okay, fine. I don't want to, you did say, so I don't want to.
That's a win. I just haven't seen or talked to you, Billy, in so long. So I'm thrilled that you're here.
Boebert isn't gonna do so well with the breaking laws part either. I'm gonna guess based on her.
No, I think that's going to be an issue. But that's just speculation on my part.
Well, maybe she can be, the next Mrs. Matt Gaetz. So, he's got one right now. So who knows where that's going. Yes. Okay, let's ask you about McGonagall. What happened for you? So to remind our audience, Billy did the Comey rule, and you spent quite a lot of time with Jim Comey, with that material, with research, with like the kind of effort that goes into actually making what I consider a long form film like that, where it's limited series, but it really was a long form. It was like what, 5 hours, 6 hour?
No. It was 2 nights.
2 nights.
4
Okay.
hours. 4 hours.
4 hours. Okay. So,
but I always thought of it as just a big long movie.
It was a big long. It was a big long movie. It was great, right? You had the 3 acts going there for. So, the kind of research and the kind of information that you had to get into and have access to, and the nuances of that in order to do that piece of work. What did I know you know more about that moment in time than just about anybody. So
I doubt it, but I'm more. I know a lot.
Except Charlie McGonagall, he knew more.
People who are in skiffs, a lot less than people who are in skiffs. But of the people who are outside of skiffs, I have spent an outsized amount of time.
Yes, you're not in the Gang of 8. We got it. So tell us.
Also remember that in 2006, I made a movie called Breach, which was about Robert Hansen.
Yes.
Who did exactly what McGonagall did. And the damage that Robert Hansen did as an FBI agent cost the United States government $27 billion. That's billion with a B. And, officially, Hansen is blamed for the deaths of 3 informants that we had turned that he then revealed to Moscow, and Moscow then executed. But there are people in the FBI who think he was responsible for the deaths of 50 informants.
I believe they're probably right. Yeah.
Like incalculable cost.
Yeah. He was head of counterintelligence.
Right. He was in charge of the team that was looking for him.
That's right.
Convenient. Yeah.
And Chris Cooper played him, brilliantly. And I'm very, very proud of that movie and that performance. But anyway, why do people spy on their own country? Why do people betray their own country? It's different with each person. Sometimes it's a financial thing. Sometimes there's something broken about them internally that we just failed to diagnose. What I can tell you with this guy, what it seems to me, is that this country went on such an anti-China rant during the Trump years that we took our eye off the ball of someone who's been an enemy of this country for far longer, which is Russia, of course. And I'm not in any way singing the praises of China. I'm not a fan. And I'm far from a fan of socialism. It's a failed political ideology that in just the last century cost the world maybe 100 million lives. But what I can tell you is that Russia, of the two, is the only country that ever planted a candidate into the United States presidency. China never did that. So that, to me, makes Russia a pretty formidable foe. And whether Republicans want to deal with the reality of it or not, that's cost us, I think, in a profound way. I mean, we're going to be digging out from what Trump did to this country for a generation. Yeah. That needs to be discussed. And you can see that's not the conversation that the GOP wants to have. So I look at a guy like McGonagall and I just see another human fucking tragedy. And who knows how long it'll be before we figure out what he actually cost this country. I have no inside information about that.
Right. No one does. I mean, we'll learn. Yep. We're going to learn.
And we'll be horrified, I'm sure.
And we're going to be horrified. Absolutely. We're going to be horrified.
Yeah. But maybe things will make more sense, I don't know.
But one thing I can tell you, if we just circle back to the politics of it, and it's something I want Democrats to really get.
Okay, everybody listen up.
Because we don't seem to get it, okay? When you're in D.C. and you talk to the people who actually run for office for a living, what you find out again and again is that people say to them, hey, in our race, I knew the Republican was an asshole, but I thought the Democrat was an elitist. And the asshole never made me feel dumb. So I voted for the asshole. Okay. We have got to stop talking down to people. We have got to stop condescending. We have got to stop insulting people. And we have got to stop insisting that people celebrate things that they've just learned how to tolerate. Okay? We have got to stop saying, no, you can't say pregnant women. You got to say pregnant person. No, that's fucking stupid. We have got to stop saying, no, you can't say breastfeeding. You got to say chest feeding. Absurd. Okay? You got to let people talk the way they want to talk. If you are a man trapped in a woman's body who's pregnant and you want to call yourself a pregnant person, great. I'll fight for your right to do it. But don't tell some voter in Ohio that if he doesn't say it, that he's a knuckle dragger, because he's just going to vote for a Republican. And what the message that I keep communicating.
And then all the rights are gone.
Right. That's the message I keep communicating to my members of Congress is you cannot help the transgender community by losing elections. If we keep talking like we're talking, we're going to lose elections. It's the only way we can lose elections. Let's dispense with the myth now and forever that this is a divided country, that it's somehow 50-50 down the middle. It's not. Put minimum wage on the ballot in Florida, it gets 60%. Put it on the ballot in Arkansas, it got 62. In Missouri, it got 67. This is a fundamental Democratic message. 66% of the country is with us on abortion. They're with us on climate rescue. They're with us on decriminalizing cannabis. They're with us on healthcare. They're with us on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And if you stop saying universal background checks about guns, which sounds big brothery, and start calling it violent history checks, 95% of America comes with you, including 73% of NRA members. Okay. On all these fundamental levels, we're not 50-50. America is 66% in the Democratic column. So why don't they vote for us 66% of the time? Because of the culture bullshit. Because we make them feel dumb. And the second we stop doing that, we're going to win 66% of the races. And then we can actually save the country. That's the message for me.
Got it. I want better language around trans rights. I think that's should be the top priority because Americans.
Okay, I'll give you some, and then I really have to go.
Americans are getting gunned down.
Yeah, no, you've got to go
down in their clubs. So
okay,
let's hear the better language because I don't want people. I don't want anybody any more of that most vulnerable community to be getting gunned down.
Totally agree. So, and I really do have to go. A member of the left part of the Democratic caucus asked me on a Zoom the other day, how do I talk about the trans issue? Because I got to defend the trans people in my community. I have to. But how do I do it in a way that doesn't fall prey to what you're saying? I said, this one's really easy. Make it sound like the Republicans are obsessed with it instead of you're being obsessed with it. In other words, what you want to say is, you know what people in my district care about? They want to make sure that their paycheck is going to cover all of their costs. They want to make sure that their kids' school is good. They want to make sure that they have health care. They want to make sure they can get prescription drugs at a reasonable cost. They want to make sure the planet is going to be preserved and there is such a thing as climate rescue. That's the stuff they care about. But instead of dealing with any of those problems, the GOP has decided that their focus is to take away the rights of this tiny minority inside a tiny minority. They're going to go pick on the trans community, and that's going to solve the problems of America. I don't get it. I don't get it as an obsession. I don't get it as a fixation. I think it is really cruel, and I'm going to stand in their way, but I need someone to explain to me why Republicans are so completely fixated on this issue. Then it makes it sound like they're batshit about transgender instead of we are.
That's great.
Well,
have to go.
Right. Billy Ray, you go. Thank you so much.
Do it anytime.
You're the best.
Great to have you.
Bye, Billy.
All right. He's
Yay!
great. I love him.
That's my WGA
So
mentor,
good.
everybody.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We got to go back to talking about the 99 Luftballons, the Chinese balloons. Chuck, you're a genius.
Yeah.
Love ya.
Yeah.
We rolled on past that really quick, but that was all Chunk.
That was all Chunk.
That was all Chunk. Okay, everybody. Next topic. Let's go into. Let me get my thing. Let's go. We're rolling.
Next topic. Rico Suave. What does this mean? This means Rico, and this means Pomerantz. Pomerantz being the prosecutor who abruptly resigned after Bragg kind of pulled the plug on the, the indictment, the potential indictment of Trump in Manhattan, and now is writing a book about it. He's taken a lot of flack, a lot of hits from people about like, why are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. What's your take? Because I think I hear him writing a book about, taking Trump down for RICO, which is racketeering. That seems mobby to me. So my question is, LB, mob expert.
What do I know about this? Well,
yeah, what's going on?
I was, as people might remember, when he was named as someone that was coming, that Cy Vance was bringing in, because Cy Vance had a tricky history, right? So we were all like, yeah, Cy Vance, is he really going to bring it, right? And New York was the place, as I kept saying, this is where Donald Trump is in trouble, is in New York. It was me and Michael Cohen. And we were the ones going, this is it, because he's a gangster. And so this is where all the criminality is. This is what the Trump organization, the Trump family is. That's a crime family. It's a crime company. It's a business front for crime families, other crime families with names that we all know and remember. You guys will all remember that. So, that was where he was going to be taken down. We had A.G. James in there. She was formidable, but couldn't be the same kind of investigation as could happen out of SDNY. There's differences in there. I don't want to get into that. We only have a few minutes. So when I saw Pomerantz get pulled on, I went bananas, because I have studied how the Gambino crime family got taken down. I have studied all of these mafia cases, a lot of them happening through New York. And Pomerantz is legendary. He's legendary in the work that he did prior to coming onto this case with Cy or Mr. Vance, whoever. So when he then quit as soon as Alvin Bragg got in, because Bragg killed the investigation. He did. He killed it. I think everybody's dancing around that and not really focusing on that. Alvin Bragg got in there, and within 2 weeks of getting elected, killed the investigation that had been being built in direct cooperation with Letitia James's office, A.G. James's office, to be one of the biggest fucking RICO cases, as it turned out, that we would have seen on the level of taking down crime families, crime syndicates. He killed it in a matter of days after taking office. Before taking office, he was not privy to this investigation. Imagine how complex it was. Imagine the intricacies of it. The really hardened prosecutors who knew what they were doing, that had come out of retirement to help run this case because they knew who Donald Trump was. Like you did, like I did. They knew he was a crime boss. So the crime boss hunters and killers, right, came in willfully out of retirement to be part of this case, because they've been trying to get this motherfucker for years, for decades. And this was it, because they had the books. They had the books. Right? They had Mazars. They had Deutsche Bank. They had it. They had the goods. Cy had the goods. And Letitia James had the authority to help deliver the goods. And those two offices were working together on this. This was an incredible thing. And Alvin Bragg comes in and within days goes, nope, boom. As if he spent any time or enough time to make that decision. So I immediately called corruption on that. I could be very, very wrong. That was just my gut reaction. And I lost hope. I was like, oh shit. Well, this is it. It's like every time there's a chance to get this motherfucker, and the stakes keep getting raised, decades and decades of people really trying to take him down, and you find some way to corrupt it, right? Let's get, so I was like, okay, this guy's bad. You told me at the time, and you could just say, no, I know somebody who knows Bragg. He's not bad. I'm like, he's bad. Fuck him. He did this. All right. Now Pomerantz comes out, and Pomerantz quit. He was like, I'm out. Fuck off. And now he's written a book. Of all the people we want to write a book, this is the guy. You want to write a book because we want to hear from this. We don't want to hear from journalists who had scoops and stories and held it for personal profit when they could have brought the news to us like proper journalists and who have that constitutional right that we give them, right? We protect the fourth estate so that they can inform us in the moment so that we're not held hostage by shit. And then they made choices selfishly to hold us fucking hostage so that they could profit off of it. It's not that kind of book. This is the kind of book, this is what we were always begging for. Somebody on the inside, I was calling for it for years. Release his fucking confidential informant files. Release his fucking counterintelligence files. Someone from inside the system, please take a risk and fucking tell us what the fuck is going on. Inform the American people. Well, here's Pomerantz. He did it. And what happened to him? As soon as he did it, out come the talking heads, right? And they're all looking to shut him the fuck up. I don't think that's because they're malevolent. I think they looked and they read it. Now, have I read the book? I haven't. I'm going to read the book. I haven't had time. Sorry, guys. A lot's been happening. But I have listened to his interviews and a couple of times and re-listened to them. And I have witnessed the criticism. And I think the criticism is parsed this way. I'll read the book. I'll go back. I'll study it all. It's important to me because this man was big in some of these cases that are part of a tremendous amount of work that I've done and continue to do, right? In rolling out the story of the underworld. So I'm defending him, but I need to learn more, okay? From reading it himself. What appears he did was he surfaced information that was already public information because it came out of Letitia James' already exposed investigation in her case. And some of the convictions she's gotten, right? So she's already gotten her rulings on the civil stuff of Trump org has to pay for this. Here's where the thing. That's the information that he went ahead and made public as part of the combined investigation, which we knew they were doing. There's no mystery in any of that. And he put it in the book. And so people are freaking out that he somehow has put information out there that's compromised Alvin Bragg starting up this investigation again, right? But Alvin Bragg isn't starting up this particular investigation. This was it. This was it. The RICO case is it. That is how you take this motherfucker down. That's not what's happening in Alvin Bragg's office. That's not what he's reinvigorated. He's reinvigorated the zombie part of the case, as I've heard Pomerantz describe it, which was the Stormy Daniels payments, the election fraud, that part of it, which was part of the broader RICO case and the financial crimes they were going to get him on, because it's all part of how he does an accountant and what he claims, and it was part of that. But it was an add-on that wasn't central to going to the heart of the Mazars and the Deutsche Bank and the bank fraud and the loan fraud and all of that. It was just another financial crime that was happening in that world of Trump organization and had some of the same witnesses and had some of the same people coming in and giving testimony. And so it was connected to it, but they kept kind of having to put it down below because they're focusing so heavily on this gangster and his fucking racket. Okay? So that's what all of that is and what all the noise is, as I can tell. And also Alvin Bragg came right out because Pomerantz was critical of him in the book. I need to read the book to see what exactly he said. I caught some phrases and I listened to what Pomerantz had to say about it. And I listened to what Alvin Bragg had to say about it. And this is my takeaway. Pomerantz basically called Bragg a coward. I don't know if he did it directly. He wasn't saying for political reasons, this guy said, like he thought he wouldn't get elected again or there was something going on. It's just basically, you got to have cojones and a spine of steel to go up against a mafia boss and take him down and take down a syndicate. You do. You do. You want to come for a crime family? There's a particular kind of prosecutor who can do that. And so my takeaway is Alvin Bragg came into office, saw it all with, holy shit, he's a crime boss. Oh my God. And just was like, we can't do this. Right. And heard what he wanted to hear from other people on the prosecutorial team of saying, well, we do have a problem over here, probably the zombie case. We do have issues over here, but none of it was around that there wasn't clear evidence of criminality at the core of the case that they were bringing and the indictments that they were about to bring against Donald. None of it was about that. It was tertiary stuff Bragg took it because he freaked out. That's my takeaway. I'll read it to see. But it's like his head popped off because he realized, oh my God, I'm going to be the first person to prosecute a former president of the United States on not just anything, but the kind of shit we take gangsters down for because he's actually a fucking gangster. No. Coward.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway. So there we go, guys. That's my summary of it all. I will know more. I'll know more.
That does track with what I heard about Bragg, which is that I know people say he's corrupt, he's paid off, he's this and that. I've heard from my friend who, knows him that no, that's not the. I think you're right. I think he got fucking scared.
Got scared.
Yeah, he got scared.
Right.
He wasn't
Pomerantz categorized it as like there are prosecutors, right, who won't take cases in unless it's guaranteed win. It's like has to be the cleanest kind of thing. It can't be, and that it's not that wasn't this case. It's not that it didn't have clear evidence, but it's not. We're not playing, badminton in the backyard with our cocktails and our whites and not getting any grass on us. This is a fucking knife fight. We're in there with the mob, and you gotta be a certain kind of right. This isn't. Oh, good. Oh, that's a nice little pretty little whatever, and I'll look good and blah, blah, blah. It's hardcore. It's the hardest core as it gets because there's Kremlin shit up in there too. Because when they're exposing this money, my guess is when they're exposing this money from Deutsche and Mazars, there's really dangerous fucking international gangsters in that shit too.
Yeah.
There's really fucking corrupt banks out of the former Soviet Union in that shit. Possibly even some German, Deutsche's in there. Where's Reifeisen? I bet that shit's in there. Right? So that's scary stuff. I get it. That puts you on a poison list. It does.
Yeah. But like, if you're not going to do that, don't take the fucking job. Anybody running for the AG of Manhattan know that that's on the docket. So if you're not comfortable with it, don't fucking do it. Don't take the job. Just don't do it. Do something else.
That's my take on it. Yeah,
it's a good take. It's a good take. Monique, good take. And I'm happy to say it again. Bragg is a coward. The word in the city is that he's a coward and was told to step away. Or he decided to step away. Yeah. Okay. We have announcements. It's time for announcements.
Ooh. Okay.
The first announcement is we're doing after hours.
After hours.
Did I say it right?
In the club.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes, but True Player is going to post the link on the thingy, and you can go there at 9:30ish or whatever. 10 minutes after we close the show, we'll go do the thing.
Okay, wait. I'm going to put this up there. Here's somebody, because I saw a little comments like, "Do you guys argue or is there dissent?" So bad take on Bragg, to be fair. Okay, we'll see. Thanks, Georgia. We'll see.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't know you were a Pomerantz fanboy or fangirl, I suppose.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
Well, I mean, we'll see. Let me read this book. Let me see what all the hair on fire is about outside of the punditry and his interviews, and seeing what former prosecutors are saying that have no privilege or knowledge of the case, and frankly don't go after gangsters the way this man did, at what they're putting out on Twitter. So I don't have more information than that, but I'm happy to find out. Okay,
here's an announcement.
You got something.
These are stickers. Because we said when people signed up for what's the second one called?
Velvet
Rope.
Velvet Rope
and Hire. They get stickers. So I put it in a thing. If you're on Velvet Rope or Hire, you get stickers. They turn out kind of nice, actually.
I love them.
My kids like them. You can put them on your laptop. You can put them on your water bottle.
I love
them. Put them on your refrigerator. I'm going to put one on my phone. I don't know. It doesn't really match, but we'll see. Anyway, we cannot send you stickers unless you send me your address. So, if you trust me to do that.
Where should they do that?
You can send it to healygates@yahoo.com. The information is in the if you go to our YouTube page into the community thing and you're a member, you can see the post about it and it gives you the instructions. But I have 5 of these sitting behind me with stamps on them ready to go that I'm going to mail out tomorrow to lovely people who
get your sticker.
Yeah, you gotta get your sticker.
Get your sticker.
Yeah. So that's it. The other thing is, I forgot to say earlier, maybe I'll save this for the after thing, but no, I'm in Berlin and like Keith Olbermann is like shouting out my McGonagall piece. And I can barely even have time to even look at Twitter, let alone watch the thing. So what happened is that he said my name wrong and so many people complained about it that he fixed it, which might be the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So
thanks, everybody.
I didn't need to correct my own name pronunciation. So thank you, everybody that participated in that. And yeah, that was cool.
I would take some credit for that because we always say, hey, Greg Olear, and make sure everybody knows how to say the Olear.
Lolo's Lounge. Lolo, we love Lolo, and she's watching this now in the chat room in the lounge. We're screwed up the lounge. I think we screwed up the lounge, LB. I'm sorry, Lolo.
What lounge?
No, because I think her lounge is usually after our show, but you could still do the lounge after. It's not gonna be long. The after party thing is not gonna be. The after hours isn't gonna be long.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
It's just after hours in the club. We're gonna do a quick one.
No.
All right, let's move on. Are we ready? That's it.
We're ready. Do I have anything else? It's Ringmaster. 7,000 people in the comments said. I thought it was Ringleader, and I knew it was wrong. Ringmaster.
Ringmaster.
Now presenting Bottom and Belly. Yes, all of that. Okay.
All right,
last topic, number 5. Thought balloon. What could it possibly be about?
Oh my God, the balloon.
This happened, by the way, the entire week that I was in Germany. The fucking balloon is floating across the United States. Nina is trending, the one German pop song that ever penetrated the United States in my lifetime. And I'm in Germany while this is trend. It's all very strange. And, and then it's floating around. Everyone's losing their fucking mind on like Fox News and Newsmax and these idiots that Chunk so brilliantly satirized in his lovely and very funny song there. And it took forever because the damn thing had to cross the entire United States before they could pop it. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. What'd you think about the balloon? We haven't really talked about the balloon.
We haven't talked about the balloon. Okay. I'm just going to say this one thing about the balloon. Okay. So in terms of the comments on it, because I saw some punditry happening around it and coming from people a couple voices who claim to really always tout the strength and power of our intelligence community, especially our signals intelligence. And it just struck me that and we're screaming about it because, oh my God, it's crossing the whole United States. Think of the damage that's being done. And, because it's, they're Republicans, secret Republicans. But say they're not partisan, because this is intelligence or this is national security. So it's blah, blah, blah. Okay. You can't have both those things. You can't claim, rightly so, that our intelligence capabilities, especially when it comes to signal intelligence, are by far superior to anything ever. Like it's this huge, incredible, powerful thing that we have as Americans. Thank God for our national security. Best in the world, best ever in history. You can't claim that and think that they somehow didn't know how to handle a fucking balloon. Can't have it both ways. Either it's a clown show at the NSA and the Department of Defense, or they know what they were doing. And they gathered a shit ton from that while blocking the fuck out of it. And China actually, what the China balloon was about was China got caught with its pants down. How fucking embarrassing. That was an embarrassment to China, not to us, and not to Joe Biden, and not to the Pentagon, and not to the NSA, and not to anybody else at any other defense intelligence agency that has anything to do with interrupting signals or intercepting them. I'm sorry. So they let it go on its merry way because it was really embarrassing to China, and we were getting a lot out of watching. Oh, look at the path that they put this thing on. How must they have known what to do with this? So maybe we've got some fucking people shouting out some stuff to them, that are in positions that they shouldn't be talking to Chinese, and they are. I don't know. Stuff like that. But come on, guys. We can't handle a balloon. Come on. Give me a fucking break. I can't with this. I can't with this faux outrage. And some of it, honest outrage from people losing their minds because they've forgotten because Joe Biden's, president. So they've forgotten all the shit that they constantly, we're the best intelligence community. Come on, clowns. And then he popped it. And they fucking popped it. And they popped it with a fighter jet. You didn't see any kind of missiles or anything coming up out of any of the sites that they were hovering over. God forbid they know how we can defend ourselves. We don't want them knowing that, right? Right, everybody? Come, give me a break. That's my 2 cents.
Isn't using a balloon, if you're China, kind of like using a fax machine at this point? Like, is that really the best thing they have? I don't know.
Well, it's a craft. It's a spy craft, not really a balloon.
Looked balloony to me.
It looked a little balloony to me.
It's pretty balloony looking. I don't know.
Meanwhile, I think
in Alaska,
half of those sort of opinions were happening on TikTok.
Yeah, well, exactly. Now, what also happened today?
But today
we did shoot something down in Alaska.
On the weird thing.
I think we killed an alien, LB. I think it was somebody from Mars, and we got him. We got him. Mars attacks.
Speaking of signal intelligence, I was paying attention to General Hayden's account, and he retweeted an OSINT account that was putting out facts about it, and that account, and he put big eyes and fingers pointing down, and I'm like, oh no, what's the former head of the NSA saying about the aliens? So, I mean, that's my word, not his. But what the fuck are these things? What are they? I told that story about how my husband, the silent one, saw one of those. So he saw that and he goes, He saw because he saw one riding his bike one day. Look, we had him over California, and people were freaking out and taking pictures of him. I don't know what the hell these things are. I really don't.
If the aliens come, I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. I can't process it anymore.
I'm ready. Bring it. That's what I posted. Yeah. Bring it. Put on my. Yeah. I got some gear. I'll gear up.
No, I'm done. I'm out. I think we should end the show with the words of John Lennon, who said, there are UFOs over New York, and I ain't too surprised. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our prophet, John Lennon. Anyway, we love you guys. It's a pleasure.
Nobody told me there'd be days like this.
We're going to do here, and right on the money, 26 seconds left. Okay. We're gonna break from here, say goodnight to everybody here, go over to the other link where people can find it in the comments.
I think so. Yeah, True Player put it in the thing now.
True Player put it in the thing.
Hopefully it'll work and it won't be.
Right. If you scroll up to the top of the comments, you'll find it there. She might be popping it in now. We'll see. Give us about 5 minutes, and then we'll see you guys all behind the velvet rope.
Yeah, and if you don't, it should just pop up. Wait, let me see if she's. Oh yeah, she's got it there.
Okay.
Here it is. I'm going to put it right here on the thing. Thank you, Trupler, for your help and for the moderation. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right, everybody.
That. And all right, fun show. This is the outro. Good night, everybody. See you next week.
Good night, everyone.